Right now for you at 4:30, obviously many questions remain about what comes next if the U.S. Supreme Court makes the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
And one of the biggest questions we're seeing, if it has the potential to impact other constitutional rights. Lawmakers and activists are warning that the language about privacy used in the opinion could also jeopardize same-sex marriage, access to contraception, and LGBTQ plus rights. To break this down for us and what you need to know, law professor Stephen Gillis with Quinnipiac University. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Erin. The first thing I'd say is that a lot of this is predictable politics in the wake of a leaked draft of a Supreme Court opinion. So on both sides of the political aisle, folks are thinking about the midterms, and they're thinking about putting pressure on the Supreme Court justices in case some of them are wavering or on the fence, which may very well be why the opinion was leaked. That explains, at least in part, I think, why Republicans are saying this is a threat to the court and Democrats should be silent, and why, on the other hand, Democrats are saying all of our liberties are at stake. So there's a heavy dose of politics in these concerns. Legally, however, there is a basis for saying, well, yes, if the Supreme Court consistently used the test that's in that Alito draft opinion, some of the other rights that the court has recognized as fundamental could also be questioned. That's because the test in the opinion is the right deeply rooted in our tradition, and some of the other rights are not as well.
Well, correct us if we're wrong here, but Justice Alito seemed to imply he actually wrote about same-sex marriage, correct? And kind of cited that in this draft opinion.
He specifically said abortion is unique among all the rights the court had recognized because it involves taking the fetal life. So distinguished it from same-sex marriage and contraception. Then he said this opinion does not affect or undermine those other decisions in any way. However, it is true that all of these decisions can be tied together by something called a right of privacy. And he questioned, in some sense, questioned that right by using the test he did. So there's a little bit of a question mark, but if we ask, is it likely that the court would go back and re-examine gay marriage? Think about that for a minute. Hundreds of thousands of same-sex couples have built their lives around being able to get gay marriages. That's a huge reason acknowledged in this opinion. It's called reliance, why the court would not overrule a precedent like that. Or think about contraception. Is there a single legislature in the United States that would say we're going to ban contraceptives? How would the Supreme Court ever get a chance to overrule it?
I think the only thing that I would argue is that I don't think many people out there expected this draft opinion and the potential for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. So I think reading this draft opinion has brought about a lot of concerns from folks. Does this open Pandora's box? Where does this lead? Is this just the first in what may be many other changes? And so I think for many folks, that is where their cause of concern is coming from.
I completely agree with you, Erin, that at the personal level, lay people reading this will be thinking, boy, what might come next? But I think that careful students of the court's opinions would say the signals in this draft are already that there's not a majority to touch any of those other rights. And remember, this is just a draft. And this is probably the strongest version of overruling Roe. The first draft, Alito's opening punch. Now he's got to keep, if he has 5 justices, he has to keep them all on board. And that means whatever reassurances the justice at the edge of the group, right, says we need to be sending about other rights are going to be in the final opinion.
We don't have any time left, but I do want to ask you just briefly your reaction when this leak came out. We'd obviously never seen anything like this before. What was your thought?
I clerked for Sandra Day O'Connor back in 1985-86. This was completely shocking that if it is a clerk, and that's the likeliest suspect, I would think, that a clerk would betray the court's trust in this way. But having said that, I think it's something one person did. And people who are saying this shows that there's a huge problem with the court, to me, are overreacting.
All right, Stephen Gillis with Quinnipiac University. Thank you so much. We know you're busy. Thanks for taking some time to speak with us.
My pleasure, Erin and Mark.